Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we are diving into the massive structural updates OpenAI just dropped regarding their future. If you've been following the AI space, you know things are moving incredibly fast. But the blueprints OpenAI just laid out for achieving artificial general intelligence, or AGI, are on a completely different scale. We're looking at an unprecedented level of transparency into their internal goals, their timelines, and the fundamental restructuring of their entire operation. All right, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. A radically better future. 2. OpenAI's 3 core pillars. 3. Integrating the AI engine. 4. User freedom and customization. 5. AI resilience and safety. And finally, 6. The human element. Let's get right into it. Section 1. A radically better future. So we've got to start by looking at the ultimate endgame OpenAI is aiming for. And spoiler alert, it's not just about building a slightly better chatbot, it is about fundamentally accelerating scientific discovery. Here's the crucial takeaway. AI scaling could soon compress literal centuries of compounding scientific breakthroughs into just a couple of years. Think about that for a second. Historically, science builds on itself, right? Discovery after discovery. Well, OpenAI believes that deep learning systems are actually less than a decade away from superintelligence. Imagine taking 200 years of human scaffolding and innovation and squeezing all that progress into a decade, or even just 2 years. It's enough to give traditional scientists whiplash. You have a data center here that is discovering a cure for cancer. This one is helping to solve the climate crisis. That vision from Sam Altman brilliantly illustrates the real-world stakes here. We're talking about massive computing facilities entirely dedicated to solving humanity's most complex challenges. You won't just have an AI writing an email for you, you're going to have a physical building, an entire data center, operating with a singular goal of designing novel materials, colonizing space, or actually curing diseases. It's wild. Moving on to Section 2, OpenAI's 3 core pillars. To achieve this radically better future, OpenAI basically realized they couldn't just operate as a standard research lab anymore. They've completely restructured their mission around 3 foundational pillars. These are the absolute essential building blocks to transition AI from, an experimental chatbot into an autonomous problem-solving engine. First up is research. This is figuring out the deep learning needed for AGI. But research is kind of useless without the second pillar, product, which takes those advanced models and turns them into an accessible platform for the world. And honestly, neither of those can exist without the third pillar, infrastructure, constructing the massive, low-cost compute facilities to literally power the whole shebang. Section 3, integrating the AI engine. So how do these 3 building blocks interconnect to form this massive, global machine? Let's take a look. Think of it like a vehicle, where each pillar relies heavily on the others. Research is the steering wheel, right? It determines what is mathematically possible, with the ultimate goal of actually automating AI researchers themselves. Then, infrastructure is the engine fuel. This requires an absolutely staggering $1.4 trillion financial obligation just to physically power the models. And finally, the product is the vehicle itself. It takes that raw intelligence and transitions it into a global developer platform, making it usable for you and me. Now, you really have to look at the sheer speed of this targeted timeline. Right now, current models can roughly match the best humans in competition for about a 5-hour task. But look at this progression. By September 2025, they're aiming to have capable AI research interns deployed. And by March 2028, which, by the way, is almost exactly 5 years after the launch of GPT-4, they are targeting a fully automated, legitimate AI researcher. No way, right? But to hit those 2028 deadlines, they need computing power on a scale the world has literally never seen, 30 gigawatts. That massive infrastructure build-out translates directly to that monumental $1.4 trillion financial obligation we talked about a second ago. It's just a mind-boggling number. And get this, 30 gigawatts is just the beginning. Their aspirational goal is to build an infrastructure factory capable of constructing 1 gigawatt of compute per week, all while driving the cost down to $20 billion per gigawatt. Building these massive data centers, like their Stargate site currently under construction in Abilene, Texas, is going to require working at an unprecedented global scale. We're talking entirely new supply chains, insane energy innovations, and perhaps an army of robots building their own data centers. It's literally sci-fi scale construction. Okay, Section 4, user freedom and customization. As that massive infrastructure powers the back end, the user experience at the product layer is gearing up for a major philosophical shift. We want to treat our adult users like adults, This quote from Sam Altman really sets the tone here. OpenAI is preparing to pivot from a rigid one-size-fits-all model to a platform built on deep user customization and freedom. Because as the platform scales, people's needs are going to become vastly different. So what does treating users like adults actually look like in practice? Well, it means deep personal customization. If you're writing creative fiction or having a deep emotional conversation, you don't want to constantly bump into paternalistic content filters. So they're actively developing an adult mode to allow for this. On top of that, people are starting to rely on AI for emotional support, talking to it like they would a doctor, a lawyer, or even a spouse. Because of that level of intimacy, OpenAI is calling for entirely new paradigms of policy protection and AI privacy to guard these deeply personal relationships. Now, as you might guess, this creates a deeply complex balancing act. On one hand, you have the drive to empower consenting adults with unedited creative freedom and emotional speech. But on the other hand, there's the undeniable need for systemic resilience to proactively protect vulnerable users. I mean, unfiltered models could inadvertently exacerbate the condition of individuals in psychiatric crises or be harmful to minors. Navigating this line between ultimate user freedom and ethical guardrails for vulnerable populations, it's easily one of the hardest intelligence problems they're currently trying to solve. Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, AI resilience and safety. To manage these intense risks on a global scale, OpenAI is evolving its approach from simple model safety to a much broader concept. They're calling this AI resilience. Rather than just trying to block dangerous prompts on a single model, AI resilience aims to build a global rapid response ecosystem. Think of it kind of like modern cybersecurity. If a bad actor uses a completely different open source model to try and engineer a bioweapon or cause a massive disruption, simply having OpenAI block the prompt isn't enough anymore. There needs to be a rapid response infrastructure to mitigate those global threats instantly, even if other systems are totally compromised. Building this immense resilience requires conquering 5 distinct layers of safety. It starts at the very core with value alignment, making sure the AI fundamentally cares about high-level human principles. Then it moves outward through goal alignment, ensuring human instructions are followed safely. Next is reliability, basically calibrating correct predictions. Then adversarial robustness, meaning it can withstand targeted attacks. And finally, systemic safety, guaranteeing the overall environment and device access remain entirely secure. A really fascinating part of ensuring that very first layer, value alignment, involves an interpretability technique called chain of thought faithfulness. Essentially, researchers keep the AI's internal reasoning process completely free from outside supervision or training edits. By not forcing the AI to, think good thoughts while it's processing, researchers can monitor the model's true, unedited inner workings. This helps them verify that its fundamental logic actually remains aligned with human safety. And finally, Section 6, the human element. With all this immense compute power, intricate safety architecture, and staggering financial investment in place, we've got to address what this means for humanity itself. To manage the rollout of this massive technology, OpenAI has simplified its corporate structure. The Public Benefit Corporation will focus on raising the immense capital needed for infrastructure. But that corporation is governed by a nonprofit entity, the OpenAI Foundation, and they are kicking things off with a huge $25 billion commitment. Their immediate, incredibly optimistic goal is funneling these vast resources directly into utilizing AI to help cure diseases and establishing that robust global AI resilience ecosystem we just discussed. As this explainer wraps up, I want to leave you with the most profound question we face right now, and it's a question the team at OpenAI is openly grappling with. In a radically better future where AI does the heavy intellectual lifting, where data centers discover new physics and fully automated AI researchers push the absolute boundaries of science, what will your purpose be? When the pursuit of knowledge is automated, how will we define our human meaning? It is a fascinating future ahead, and it's coming a lot faster than we think. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this roadmap today, and keep learning.